Hey guys, stick around at the end of the video to hear about our time with BenQ's new X series gaming projectors. We got to try one out and it made for an awesome couch co-op experience, but for now, let's get to the video. Let's cut to the chase here. Roguelikes have taken over gaming. From AAA games to Game of the Year contenders to DLC to spins on classics, this genre just works and it works well. Some of my favorite games of the past few years are roguelikes. And you know how else it works? It works really well in co-op. You worry less about shared progression and more about how late you can stay up for that one more run. You can try different builds every time you hop in, not just one or two classes in an entire campaign. And because of that, Gabe and I here at the Co-op Bros have played a lot of titles in this genre. Like, it kinda surprised me just how many we've played in our short time here on YouTube. We might be calling this our roguelike list, but we have just as many roguelites in the mix here, and let's all just agree to just leave the roguelike versus light conversation on the side for another day. With that out of the way, let's dive into our top 10 co-op roguelikes.
We're hitting the ground running here with one of the fastest roguelites on the list. Our number 10 spot goes to RoboQuest. This is a first-person shooter roguelite featuring two-player online co-op. If you can imagine what Doom would be like as a roguelite, swap out the metal music for some synthwave, add some classes, and that's pretty much this game. RoboQuest really aims to give you that feeling of being in the zone. That feeling when you're totally cruising through each room, dodging bullets, grinding on rails, and just overall killing it. It's a good feeling, especially because this game is tough as nails, with a pretty punishing health and revive system in co-op. The classes left us wanting a bit more, and again, this game is not for the faint of heart, but otherwise there's not much to complain about in RoboQuest. It's not trying to revolutionize the genre, but it has a solid gameplay loop that makes it tough to put down. Returnal is a third-person bullet hell roguelike that launched back in 2021, making it one of the first tentpole releases for the PS5. It's a game that I became utterly obsessed with and remains one of my favorite games of all time. Originally, it was only single player, but the Ascension update added two-player online co-op. I wasn't really sure how this would work, but after playing with my friend Christian, I quickly realized there's plenty of advantages to partnering up. For one, you have a lot more survivability considering you can revive each other when down. Co-op also gives you an incentive to try out different builds, and we found ourselves picking up weapons and artifacts we'd usually pass on in single player. There are some quirks with this experience, primarily not being able to join a session if disconnected, and the new update didn't really add any co-op specific artifacts, which I think is a missed opportunity. Regardless, I still think it's worth checking out. The alien world in this game is pretty amazing, and that alone is worth experiencing with a friend.
When Gabe first showed me footage of PatchQuest, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening on screen. Then he told me it was a roguelike with creature catching mechanics, town building, and the action is a shoot 'em up. Yeah, that's a tough sell. But PatchQuest is the kind of game where as soon as you play it, you know why it's a favorite of so many. Catching different creatures and leveling them up to discover different movesets is a ton of fun, and then combining them with your teammates is an absolute blast. And while the game looks simple with the 2D cartoon aesthetic, it's anything but, with tons of charm and difficulty. The boss fights throw in cool mechanics and tough movesets that help keep you on your toes throughout the playthrough. This isn't the first time we've championed PatchQuest on the channel, but if it's the first time you've seen it, I'd highly suggest giving it a look on your own time. Playing Spelunky with your friends is pure comedic magic, with every run an opportunity for something insanely frustrating and funny to happen at any moment. It's accessible in the sense that controls are super simple, but it's also difficult and has a huge skill ceiling. That dichotomy means you can bring just about anyone into the fold and let them enjoy the idea of dying over and over again that is a staple of the genre. Everyone knows that this is a great game, so you might be wondering why it's sitting here at number 7. Well, as fun as it is in co-op, more often than not your friends make it a little bit hard to progress in the game. Again, it's hilarious, but the co-op adds maybe too much chaos. And we definitely recommend playing this locally versus online, since the online mode means there's no shortcuts, making it an even more punishing experience than it already is. All that aside though, Spelunky 2 is a title everyone should have in their co-op library.
It's always a pleasure to sing the praises of Ember Knights, a 4-player hack-and-slash roguelite featuring both online and local co-op. There are lots of games, even lots of roguelites that look like this, but believe me when I say Ember Knights is worth paying attention to. The game has some super snappy combat that's made even better thanks to the 6 different weapon options, all of which feel great to play. It really shines in co-op though, with all the synergies you can create within your group. A lot of the upgrades are built with co-op in mind, and I love how you have the take turns picking them, thus giving you the opportunity to weigh in on each other's decisions. The full release came to Switch and PC last year, but even more exciting is the brand new Wrath of the Architects DLC, which adds 2 new weapons, more bosses, and a whole lot more content to play. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, there's no better time to play Ember Knights. Do yourself a favor and check it out.
Both Tribes of Midgard and our next title switch up the roguelite formula of going from room to an open world map you have to try and work through within a time limit, and it works really well for both, but in different ways. Tribes' premise is an open world survival tower defense game where you defend the world tree as waves of enemies attack you at night. During the day, you set out to try and explore, upgrade your character, and grab enough materials to prepare your town for another round of monsters. All the while, there's an overarching final boss you're prepping for because this is a roguelite and you have to beat the whole experience in a single run. It sounds like a lot because it is, and that's where the co-op shines. You're constantly discussing what's the right move and where you should be putting your time and materials. It makes for a difficult but ultimately very satisfying experience, enough to give it a top 5 spot on our list.
One of our main reasons for making this list was just how hooked we've been on Ravenswatch. A review was simply not enough, so here we are again to tell you why you should consider playing this 4-player online co-op roguelike. A lot of what we liked about Tribes of Midgard is found here in Ravenswatch. The game operates on a similar day and night system that gives you 4 days to get as powerful as you can before facing that chapter's boss. Naturally, you're making a lot of decisions as a team and relying on each other to get through encounters, lest you waste some very precious time. Where this game really has a leg up over previous games on the list is in the depths of its character kits. Every character has a unique playstyle and plenty of room for a variety of different builds. Mastering a character is satisfying and needed because this is also a super tough game. The higher difficulties will really test you, but it's also been a fun challenge for Andrew, Christian, Jake, and I. 2 months after release and we're still finding time to play this, so that should really tell you it's worth your time.
Endless Dungeon is a game that's always going to confound me. It's an excellent roguelite that combines isometric twin-stick shooter action with hero-based kits and tower defense elements to make another unique experience unlike any other on this list. Not only that, but it combines those aspects with an S-tier art direction that makes it fully deserving of the top 3 spot that it has. Unfortunately, it really flew under the radar for most gamers. I hope that if you're watching this, we can fix that. It's a game that I wish I had more time to go back and play more of, but that's the bargain we pay as gaming YouTubers. We're constantly having to move on to the next best thing, so take it from me and give Endless Dungeon a shot.
Moving on to our runner-up here, and it's time to talk about a game that's punching way above its weight. Ship of Fools is a co-op roguelike that really hit us by surprise. It perfectly toes that line between being accessible while still having deep roguelike systems. There's a decent amount of build diversity with all the different characters you can play, the trinkets to amplify their abilities, and the various ship upgrades and ammo types. Not only do you have to think about how your character performs in battle, but you also have to balance keeping the ship in one piece. The game really challenges you to coordinate with each other in a way no other game on this list comes close to. You're forced to stay agile and swap roles between manning the cannons or repairing the ship. Crucially, it's still a pretty accessible title. The fact that it features both online and local co-op makes it real easy to recommend.
Gabe and I went back and forth on what title would top the list, but we ultimately landed with Risk of Rain 2. Yes, there's been a little bit of controversy lately with the game, but you'd be making a big mistake on skipping Risk of Rain, if only for that. It's a great roguelike for all the right reasons. It's difficult, the action is crazy, the builds you create in a run are wild, and there's tons of secrets to find throughout your playthrough. We've returned to Risk of Rain 2 a few times throughout our YouTube journey, and each time we're reminded how solid this title is. You never know what you're in for when you hop in, and playing this with your gang is always gonna be fun. That's why we feel like Risk of Rain 2, several years later, still tops the list.
As Andrew said at the top, there are a lot of co-op roguelike games on the market, so naturally not all of them can make our list, but just because some didn't make our list doesn't mean they wouldn't make yours, so here's our honorable mentions. Gunfire Reborn along with RoboQuest are both games we played thanks to recommendations from our viewers. Like RoboQuest, Gunfire Reborn is a fast-paced action roguelite featuring 4-player online co-op. It's a no-frills experience that doesn't exactly do anything new, but again, like RoboQuest, it delivers a really addicting gameplay loop. Cult of the Lamb is another single-player favorite that later got a local 2-player co-op mode. This game mixes town building aspects similar to Animal Crossing with some really stellar hack-and-slash combat all wrapped up in a roguelike structure. Unfortunately, some aspects don't work as well in co-op, but it's still worth checking out if you like the idea of starting a cult or if you're looking for your next couch co-op title. Either one will do. These next 3 games are all PC exclusives as they're in early access, so while they're shaping up to be great games, we decided against including them in the main list until we could fully evaluate them, which was a tough choice when it came to Windblown because it's already such a sick game. Windblown is a new 3-player online co-op roguelike coming from the team behind Dead Cells. We've been throwing around the term fast-paced throughout this video, but no game fits the bill more than Windblown. Andrew, Christian, and I have had a blast playing this and definitely think it's worth diving into the content they have so far. Rotwood is a beat-em-up roguelike that I had the chance to check out earlier this year and really fell in love with. It's coming from the team behind Don't Starve and features 4-player co-op both online and locally. The animation work in this game is just insane to me, not just in how it looks, but how it affects the gameplay in reading enemy movesets. This is definitely one we're keeping an eye on and eager to dive into again when it launches onto 1.0. And lastly, we have the recent Lynked Banner of the Spark. Like Cult of the Lamb, this game also mixes roguelike hack-and-slash combat with some co-op town building mechanics. We came away super impressed with this one, from the weapon variety to the fun art style, but especially how they totally nail full shared progression. It's a very accessible title with plenty of content so far, so be sure to check it out if it looks up your alley or add it to your wishlist to keep up with development.
Alrighty guys, that's all from us. If we did our job and gave you a few more games to check out with your friends, consider liking the video and subscribing for more. We're rounding out the year with a couple of more list videos and reviews, so if that sounds interesting, stick around or take it a step further and join our patrons. They help keep our humble 2-man team afloat, and you could too. If you're still here, of course, thank you, but consider sticking around a little bit longer to hear about our time with BenQ's new X-Series gaming projectors. So the team over at BenQ reached out to us recently to see if we'd be interested in trying out their latest series of dedicated gaming projectors, and we decided to give it a go. Gabe was in town and we really wanted to try out the split screen mode for Black Ops 6 Zombies. My friends, never have I felt more like Chandler and Joey in this iconic moment than I did when we turned this bad boy on. They're not paying for me to say this, and I can confidently say that if you have the budget and the setup for a projector, you should seriously consider the X500i. The projection quality is immaculate 4K HDR that 100% delivers. No pictures or videos can do it justice. When you see it in person, you just know. It's also got dedicated gaming modes depending on what you're playing to deliver the lowest input lag in any of their projectors ever. Even the audio output was impressive, but dynamic spatial audio coming straight out of the projector. Playing couch co-op with my guy on a giant screen was some of the most fun I've had all year, so thanks to BenQ for sending it out, and check out the link in the bio if you want to read more for yourself.